So what would you say to all of those people that were basically pulled into the silver market on the argument that it's going to skyrocket, they're going to become rich, silver's going to be $50 or $100 an ounce? I mean, what would you say to them that bought into that? Today, we are going to be asking the tough questions to a coin dealer about the silver market, about people buying into FOMO, about spot prices, premiums, and what he is buying and selling for. We're going to ask all of those questions. We are not going to hold back. So I hope you join me in today's video as we talk with Keith, the coin shop owner in Muskegon, Michigan, who is also the host of the Coin Crew here on YouTube. So let's get Keith in the channel. But before we do, don't forget to like and subscribe and help us continue to grow. Make sure you don't miss out on your chance to win a full monster box of Silver Eagles by going to our sponsor, sdbullion.com/silverseeker, and get your entry today. So Keith, welcome back to the channel, and I want to start out by asking, with spot prices and premiums down, how has business been this week?
Business is definitely different this week. Last week, a lot of buyers were walking in, and this week, a lot of sellers.
Let me ask you why. Like, the prices went down last week, not this week. So why were people buying last week and now they're selling?
Yeah, that's kind of like basically a total reversal. I think part of it has to do with the geopolitical tensions over on the other side of the world there with Israel and stuff. And last week, people were kind of anticipating, and this week, it seems like they just want their, I guess you could say, worthless fiat. They want to hold on to it, so now they're selling.
Gotcha. So when you say you've had a lot more people in selling than buying, like what's the percentage there? Is like 20-80, 30-70, what is it?
Well, it was more like 70-30 buying, and now it's like 60-30 sell, or 60-40 selling. So that's like a 20 to 30% differential.
That's fair. So let me ask you this. What are you paying when people bring you stuff in? Because I did a video last week where I called around coin shops hunting what they're paying for rounds, eagles, so on and so forth. What's a good shop paying for rounds and eagles right now?
Well, I hate to say it. I did watch your video last week, and it seems like some of them were paying a little low. I've been paying about a quarter over.
Okay, for
right
rounds.
Now for generic silver rounds.
What about eagles?
Silver or gold?
Silver eagles, of course.
Well, I've got to ask. Silver eagles, I've been paying about $1.50 to $2.50, depending on the year. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna pay a little more for everything before the year 2000.
Okay, why is that? Just curious.
Well, as you know, I'm a numismatist and a stacker, and I think everything before 2000 has a collectability to it, not just a stackability.
Okay, so you do pay more for those early dates because of collectability then. Got it.
Yes.
Do people tell you why they're selling at all? Like, has anyone said anything?
A lot of times they'll tell me why they're selling. Usually I guess you could say the main reason is because they need cash to pay a bill. But I always ask because I want to fill the customer out. I want to know, basically, did they steal it? Because I don't want to buy nothing stolen because, I won't get to keep it if it is.
That's for sure. And so you ask them, and that's fine. Does anyone ever refuse to answer, though?
I did have one guy about a month or two ago that refused to answer, and I looked at him and sized him up, and I think I'm going to pass today. You can't give me a good enough reason. I mean, I know you want to sell, but if I'm leery, I'm not going to take a risk for $1 or $10,000.
Gotcha.
That's not worth it for me.
That's completely opposite to what I thought, because I figured you wouldn't actually ask people, just privacy and all that. But it makes sense, I guess, just to protect yourself.
Well, the reason why I ask is to kind of feel them up and basically see if they actually stole the product or if they actually own the product themselves. Sometimes I'll ask, hey, where'd you get it from? And they'll happily tell me where they got it from. But sometimes they get a little skittish, but most of the time the answer is I got to pay a bill. Maybe I'm just being a little overprotective of myself, but I have made purchases in the past where I've actually lost it to the, I guess you could say, the police because it was stolen. And so I've done every precaution to try to protect that.
Now, is that the same this week? You said more people are selling this week. You think a lot of it's to do with the geopolitical situation. Do you think even though that's the case, people are still selling to pay bills, or is it to keep fiat, like you said?
Well, this week was a little different. A lot of people were sitting there going, I'd like to get a little bit of cash on hand. And I'm saying, are you sure? And they're like, yeah, I just don't trust what's going on over there in Israel.
So I generally, like on my channel, and I think you probably know this, I like to tell people they should have cash on hand anyway. So if someone, I don't know, to me, it just seems odd to sell just to keep cash on hand, because if you're a stacker, if you're if you're a responsible stacker, you should already have cash available. I mean, do you disagree with that?
No, I totally agree that everybody should have a minimum of 3 to 6 months cash on hand. When you start to get more than that, it starts to become, I guess you could say, humdrum, because you're defeating the purpose of stacking and the allotment of cash you should have. But I was talking with some of the folks this week, and they said they didn't have that much, and that's why they were selling. They wanted to get their bare minimum of 3 months down.
Got it. So what about the people buying? There's still, you said 60-40. So that's still 40% of your customers are buying silver and gold right now. Do they happen to say why they're buying? I doubt you ask that.
Because of the same reason. They don't trust what's going on over there. I mean, a lot of it has to do with the personal money situation. If someone has a little bit more money, they're going to be more prone to buy. And if they have a little bit less money, they're going to be more prone to try to get a little bit of that fiat on hand. However, having said that, most of the buyers have been gold this week. They haven't been buying so much silver.
More gold than silver. Okay. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
The premiums, although down on silver and gold, or down on silver eagle, so on and so forth. I mean, the premiums on gold are still percentage-wise a little bit lower, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, okay. So let me ask you this. Let's go into premiums a little bit, like with rounds and eagles. I already asked you what you paid. What about selling? So when you're selling rounds, when you're selling eagles, what are you selling those right now across the counter for? Let's give me pre and
silver eagles
post.
go about $7 over. I don't know what everybody else is selling. That's what I'm selling. Silver rounds, depending on whether I bought it a little bit, it does affect the price slightly. However, I've been around the 2.25 to 2.75 over, depending on the situation of when I picked it up, how fast silver went up, did they raise the premiums today, that type of thing.
Okay, so let me ask you this: looking at the premium, so you said you were paying for eagles, is 150 to 250 over spot. You're selling for around 7. Before the silver squeeze, when the silver eagle premiums were 4 or less, and what were you paying back then? If you remember, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, but roughly.
Well, I am just a guy and my memory is faulty, but I actually do remember, because I cry when I guess you could say cringe when I pay at the wholesaler level or pay across the counter. I paid $1 over spot for a BU eagle, and I sold for 5 over spot. However, at that time, like you said, they were $3 to $4 wholesale, so I had to sell for 5.
So what are you paying wholesale now for eagles, though? Because you're paying 150 to 250 across the counter, but what about wholesale?
Wholesale, I think it's around $4.
Okay. So if you had to buy from wholesale, your premium roughly, or what you're making, is about $3, assuming that silver doesn't go down on you.
Yeah, and that's the situation there, is when you look at the wholesale price versus the retail price, you have to have a slight cushion for, like you said, if it goes down. And I know the spread here lately has been a lot more than it was, 4 or 5 years ago. The spread was so close. Like I said, wholesale was 253 to sometimes 350, and you'd sell for 5. Whereas now it's a little bit more, not much, but you got to sell for 7, because the movement, the upswings and downswings are so fast. You got to be protected slightly on that case.
I mean, I can't argue that if you look at just what happened to silver, a couple of weeks ago when it dropped so quick. I can imagine, like, even from the perspective of a dealer, although you should generally be working with a set inventory that you're just replacing as you sell it, it's still probably, it wasn't fun to see for someone in your position, I would imagine.
I actually enjoyed it because I had the opportunity to increase my stack 1,000 ounces.
Okay, your personal stack, though. I'm talking about
my inventory.
Oh,
I meant to say my inventory. I increased my resale inventory by 1,000 ounces when it dipped below 21.
So it's up above 22, though, as we record this today. Are you still buying? And keep in mind before you answer that. I'm not going to ask you in this video what you think that people watching should do. I just want to know what you're doing. So, are you still buying at silver over 22?
Yes, I am still buying. Like I said, when it dipped, I was able to increase the resale stack by 1,000. Having said that, now I am just replacing what I sell.
What about overall business? Like, do you have more or less overall business this last couple of weeks since silver went down than you did this whole silver drop and all that?
Overall, I would have to say the total buys, the total sales, if you add it all together, I mean, I haven't sat down with a calculator, of course, but if I had to guesstimate it, I would say it's at least 10 to 15% slower now than it was a few weeks ago. You can tell by the foot traffic coming in the door. You can just tell by the amount each person spends, just like I said, thinking about it, I would have to say 10 to 15% lower.
Okay. So what are your customers' overall feelings about what's happening with silver right now with it going down? Regardless of whether or not they're selling or buying, are people happier that it's going down and the premiums are coming down? Or are there people upset about it?
It's a mixed bag there. The people that have the money are happy, and the people that don't have the money, are have a tight stack to where they're just barely holding on to it. They're not happy because they're having to sell at these lower levels.
So has anyone given you any specific, like details about how they feel, like any certain stories or anything like that you want to share from a customer? Or
No, not really. I mean, I wish I had an exciting story to tell you. I don't want to make something up, but nobody's given me a particular story. The only thing that I do remember is one lady was selling some 100-ounce bricks. As a matter of fact, I was on your channel one time and she sold me one and I paid her $1 over. Well, she sold me one again. Same one, Sunshine. Again, she was selling, and the reason why she was selling was to help her granddaughter with college. And that is why we stack. That's part of why we stack is, for that financial need in the future.
You say when we stack for that financial future. Does it make sense, like, to stack to a point where you would actually have to sell in a down market, though? I mean, I know I kind of touched on that, but like this lady's coming in and selling these 100-ounce bricks to help her daughter. Would it have not been, I mean, granted, I don't know when she bought these bars. Maybe she bought them back when silver was $5 an ounce. I have no idea. But, given the current situation, what's been happening with the premiums were sky high back in March, April, May, people were buying and now they're having to sell. There were people that were buying then and are having to sell. Wouldn't it have just been better for them to keep the cash?
Yes and no, but in this case, that lady bought under $15 an ounce. So she's not really selling in a down market for her situation. It is a down market in the overall market. Yes, I do believe that it's, dangerous to overstack if you have to meet margin calls like they call it in the stock market. If you have to meet some margins, pay some bills, pay someone's college tuition, that's wrong. We invest, we stack to preserve our buying power. And that's what I've been doing. As I said earlier, I increase the resale stack slightly when it goes down, and I stay level while it's up. And part of that is basically not to overspend, because when you overspend, you have to sell it at a loss. And if you're running tight, you don't want to do that. And that's why you need to keep that cash on hand.
So I'm going to ask you one final question. I know these are hard questions today, but, and I'll say this, and I hope people are still watching at this point. Like, there's a lot of channels out there that no matter what silver's doing, they're hounding, buy. It's going to hit 50. It's going to hit 100. You need to buy silver now before it's too late. And I get comments from people all the time. And unfortunately, some of these people think that I'm one of those people, which I'm clearly not. But I get comments from people all the time saying that, all these guys that are telling you to buy silver, nothing's being, they're not being held accountable for the fact that you're losing all this money. And there are people that bought, back, when it was 18. And I had comments specifically who someone said, yeah, I listened to all these, doom and gloom, silver stackers, and I bought a bunch of silver back in May. And, now we're seeing not only the premiums, but the spot price come down. So what would you say to all of those people that were basically pulled into the silver market on the argument that it's going to skyrocket, they're going to become rich, silver's going to be $50 or $100 an ounce? I mean, clearly you and I don't think that way. What would you say to them that bought into that?
Well, if I had caught them before they bought into it, I'd say, don't buy into FOMO. They bought because they were in the fear of missing out. And then they overbought and spent more of their cash than really needed to. So now they're in the position that they have to sell for less. I mean, you don't get ahead buying high and selling for less. How you get ahead with silver is you buy it and you hold it for the long term. And even at that point, you are only buying silver to preserve your wealth. If you want to make money, don't buy silver. Buy stocks where you could also lose. Buy real estate or any other venture that is actually a money-making opportunity. But silver and gold are just, I guess you could say, preserving your money vehicles.
Fair enough. I appreciate you saying that, Keith. It's refreshing to hear a coin dealer just be as honest as you are, because I know there's a lot of good coin dealers. You aren't the only one. Don't get me wrong. I've had quite a few on this channel.
I'm just a guy.
I know, but here, listen. There's the other side of the coin dealers that would absolutely tell you, like a car salesman, whatever the heck you want to hear to get you to buy that car, get you to buy that silver. So it's refreshing to have someone who's honest about the market. So thank you. All right, guys. So as always, it was a pleasure to have Keith, and we will have him on the channel again. So if you guys want to see more, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss it. Additionally, make sure you check out Keith's channel over at the Coin Crew, which I will put a link for in the description below. If you guys want to see some more awesome content, this is the next video you should watch, and we will see you next time.